Okay, what's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Saturday edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Do business with someone you know. That's us, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Of course, Restored Motions, RestoredMotions.com, and ProCharge EV, ProChargeEV.com. All right, y'all. LSU beats Tulane game one of the Baton Rouge Regional 7-2 behind stunningly Paul Skenes, which we've got to talk about. Yesterday is probably one of those days where it's a good thing I wasn't on air, because had I been on air and talked about the decision to start Paul Skenes, I likely would have been blackballed by yet another LSU coach. We'll talk about the decision to start Skenes. I'll let the audience build here for a sec. But ultimately, Skenes did exactly what you expected him to do. He's as automatic a pitcher as there is in college baseball. He's the best pitcher we've seen in college baseball, everyone says, since Steven Strasburg, Trevor Bauer. I mean, he's phenomenal. So he went and shoved, which you absolutely expected him to do. And I'm going to tell y'all, man, I think Jay Johnson is approaching this thing scared. And I hate to say that, but there was so much unnerving about that game. Starting Paul Skenes, having Hurd up in the bullpen in the eighth, all the small ball, which LSU doesn't do, but I know what he was doing. He was saying, I've got Paul Skenes on the mound. If I can manufacture 4 or 5 runs against this team, that's going to be enough for Paul Skenes, which of course it was, but that's not what you do. You don't change who you are when you get to the postseason. It was very unnerving. And then to watch Oregon State yesterday go and absolutely pummel Sam Houston 18-2. Yo, that's the reason you save your ace for the marble game. Because now you got to play that team without your best bullet. I will never get it, man. That is I tweeted it yesterday. I've watched LSU baseball my entire life. And not just like been a fan. I mean, I've watched LSU baseball. Y'all know this about me. And I have never disagreed so strongly with a pitching decision as yesterday. And let me just very quickly, I want to go through this because audience is built. So let me go through why I disagree with the decision to start Paul Skenes. I'll talk about this and then I'll move on, right? Because tonight, look, it's Ty Floyd tonight, and I like all of y'all, want to see Ty Floyd go shove, have a huge moment, win this game, put LSU in the driver's seat, and go on and advance to Supers next week, and then let's go to Omaha and hopefully the Tigers win this thing. Okay, so I'm just gonna say, because we have to start here, and then we'll move on. Last week on some of the pushback I've gotten is, well, it's the stupidest thing. It's people are like, well, you're not a coach. You never, like, how dare you question? Whenever you say that, it's very weak, because that speaks to coaching infallibility. If no one can question a coach's decision, then you are by default saying that coach is infallible and can't be questioned, when literally all of sports talk radio and Twitter and all these other things exist for dialogue on the things. Skip Bertman, pretty good coach, right? Skip Bertman last week talked to Charles and Jimmy on Live at Lunch and said he would start Thatcher Hurd. Paul Maneri, Hall of Fame coach, won a national championship, said on Live at Lunch Wednesday, he would start Thatcher Hurd. Literally everyone on our station, Charles, Jimmy, Hunt, Musso, me, yesterday, when the decision was announced, everyone disagreed with the decision. All of them. Handegriff's exact words on air were, I had a nightmare about this last night. There were 16 host sites, right? 16 seeded teams in the field. Of the 16, only one threw their ace against a 4. Only one. And it's the team that has the best pitching advantage in a decade, in Paul Skenes, at least a decade, against what is quite literally the worst team ever to get into the field. You went squirrel hunting with a bazooka yesterday when a BB gun or even a shotgun would have been just fine. And now you have spent your biggest bullet against Tulane. And I'm seeing your comments about, well, he saved the bullpen. That's crap. That is such a total crap argument that he saved the bullpen. That's a stupid argument because you're playing a 40-loss Tulane, and you could have made it through that game with any combination of Thatcher Hurd and whatever arms you needed, because Paul Skenes could have gone and done the same darn thing today against Oregon State like he's done against everybody else he's faced. It's so funny to me that I have spent the last 2 months, defending this team, defending the pitching, defending the coaching staff, defending the bullpen. I've spent the last 2 months defending this team against all of you who have done nothing but crap on the coaches. Wes Johnson's overrated, Jay Johnson's overrated, the bullpen stinks, and they got nothing after Skenes. All this, I've got all this. I've heard all this for months from you, and I've defended the coaches, the pitchers, all this. I've defended, and now Jay Johnson makes quite literally the most controversial decision of this tournament. I don't know if you heard Mike Rooney on First Pitch or on a what do they call it, squeeze play, or whatever it's called, right before the game. He said that's flat. This is the single most impactful decision of this entire NCAA tournament. It's not me saying it. It's the guy who was a major college head coach for his entire career. The two coaches that preceded Jay John, smoke them out. Skip Bertman, Paul Maneri, both disagreed with this decision. I mean, Jay Johnson he took a completely unnecessary, borderline reckless risk by starting Paul Skenes in game 1. And I've heard some of this counter argument as well. I know. Some of y'all are going to say, well, if you can't beat Oregon State with Ty Floyd or Thatcher Hurd, then you're not winning anyway. I could flip that on you as well. If you can't beat a 40-loss Tulane team with me pitching, then what are we doing? And now you have dramatically reduced your likelihood of winning today because you decided to burn the biggest advantage in college baseball against a 40-loss Tulane team. It is, and let me follow up with that, and then I'll get into your comments. That is not to say that LSU's losing today. Okay. We may come at the end of this regional and LSU sweeps through it, and I hope that's the case. Please, believe me, I hope that's the case. But baseball is a game where you play odds and percentages because you have a large sample size. In this instance, you're not trying to win a game, you're trying to win the regional. So what gives you the best chance of winning the regional? It's having Paul Skenes pitch the marble game. In this format, which has been in existence since 1999, in this format, and I went and fact-checked this yesterday, LSU, in all the years that they've been a 1 seed, so this is since 1999, remember? Since 1999, and this is with Skip, Smoke, and Maneri. The only time ever that LSU pitched off, meaning they did not, meaning they threw, let me say that way. The only time LSU threw their ace in a 1-4, when LSU was the 1 seed hosting a regional, the only time LSU ever threw their ace was in 1999, the first year of this format. And Skip decided to throw Kurt Ainsworth because they were playing ULM, and ULM was throwing Ben Sheets, who of course became a big leaguer. And he was a great pitcher who he was from Santa Monica, of course, went to ULM, developed, and became an awesome pitcher. And that was 100% the right decision because you had to counter Ben Sheets. And so they threw Kurt Ainsworth. And that's 100% the right decision. In the dozen other times that LSU has been a 1 seed under this format at home, they have never thrown their ace in a 1-4 matchup until yesterday with the guy who's the best pitcher that's ever pitched here. Again, not going to say it doesn't work. I'm not going to say it won't work. I'm not going to say, I hope Ty Floyd goes out tonight and has an awesome game and just crushes it. But anyone who is defending the decision has got to understand it's fine. It's fine if you want to defend the decision, okay? You want to fall in line behind your guy, that's fine. But you got to understand something. That is completely counterintuitive to how literally every coach in that position would handle that situation. Jay Johnson did something completely counterintuitive. I just went through it. There are 15 other seeds. Not one of the other seeds threw their ace in game 1 against a 4. It's only happened once but I just said it, since 1999 with LSU in this exact situation, and that was Kurt Ainsworth in 99 against Ben Sheets. You're the host. You've got the greatest home field advantage in college baseball. You're playing a 40-loss team. You should be able to win that game and have Paul Skenes ready to roll in the winner's bracket game to put you in the driver's seat. And now you don't. You don't have Paul Skenes available for today. And that will, go look at Vegas odds. What they would be if LSU had Skenes today, as opposed to them not having Paul Skenes today. LSU's odds of winning the game are going to be dramatically reduced. And you're facing now an Oregon State team that is a very good offensive team. And we'll talk about Oregon State here in a second. But now you're facing an Oregon State team that pummeled Sam Houston yesterday with 18 hits, and you see what they do. They are pesky. They take walks. They will steal bases. They will play small ball to put a lot of pressure on your defense, which LSU's defense hasn't been great in the second half of this year. It was a massive, massive risk that Jay Johnson took yesterday. There is no counter argument to that. That is a fact. Again, what certainly could be true is that the decision could work. It could work. But what Jay Johnson effectively did is, I'll give you a football analogy. What Jay Johnson did is what Les Miles did for so many years. We're going to run the ball, we're going to punt and play defense, and we're going to win the game 12-7. That's what Jay Johnson did yesterday. We're going to throw our biggest arm. We're going to play small ball because we don't think you can score against us, and we're going to win the game 7-2. That's great, but now you've burned your biggest. You went bazooka hunting. You went squirrel hunting with a bazooka. Is what you did yesterday. When a BB gun or a shotgun would have been just fine. So y'all can hate me for it. Y'all can disagree with me. Y'all can want me to just toe the company line and be a sunshine pumper, but you also know that's never been me and never will be me. I'm going to tell you how I feel, and I'm not alone. Those of you who are supporting the decision to throw Paul Skenes you are showing your blind loyalty. You can be hopeful that it works. You can support your team. Hell, I'm wearing a LSU shirt. I'm going to be watching night pulling harder than anybody for Ty Floyd because I know if they win this regional, they're going to Supers next week, and I got Paul Skenes throwing. And awesome, right? And I love Skenes throwing in game 1 of a Super next week, and then you split the next 2, and you're in Omaha. And then you have the same thing. You got Skenes going game 1. You likely win that. You get into the winner's bracket. So don't get me wrong, man. I'm not sitting here saying the season's lost, it's over, it's done. What I'm saying is the decision to throw Paul Skenes against Tulane, you forfeited the biggest advantage you would have had in today's game because you would have beaten Tulane yesterday with anybody. So again, it's not to say it won't work. It's not to say LSU's losing the regional. It's just to say that your chances of winning today dropped significantly because you don't have Paul Skenes on the mound against Oregon State. And that was an unnecessary risk to take. That's the point. Okay, let's say some good mornings. Do me a favor, if you're on YouTube, please smash that like button. I was kind of seeing some of your comments as I was talking there. I know some of you disagree, but I'm just going to reiterate, like, there is no logical counter argument. When overwhelmingly every coach, every analyst, like, the way this is done is you pitch off in game one. You hold your ace when you're the 1 seed. You hold your ace for the marble game. And Jay didn't do that. And he put himself and he put this team at real risk because, man, I had these people saying, like, "Oh, Jay, look, he threw a," like, people like old takes exposing me on Twitter because of how Skenes pitched. I'm sorry. Is anyone surprised that the best pitcher in college baseball in the last decade shoved against the first 40-loss team ever in the tournament? Like, of course Paul Skenes dominated that game. We all knew he would dominate the game the second they gave him the ball. I expect Paul Skenes to dominate literally anybody they play. The surprising part is using Paul Skenes against a 40-loss team. Because you'd much rather, let me ask you this, everybody watching right now, everybody watching, who would you rather have to throw tonight against Oregon State, Paul Skenes or Ty Floyd? That's the question. Who would you rather have to throw tonight, Paul Skenes or Ty Floyd? And every one of you unanimously would say Paul Skenes. And you could have lined it up that way, but you didn't, and that's the problem. Okay, we'll talk about Oregon State as well. Again, it's probably a good thing I wasn't on there yesterday because I especially, and this is how emotional I am with 21 hours to think about it. Imagine, like, right in the moment had I been on air. Woo! Y'all would have gotten a desk slamming, red faced Scone rant yesterday. Oh boy. Kelly Groves, Jason Truax, Trey Potan, good morning. Deborah Coward, good morning. Yeah, double play by Skenes was awesome. Skenes is awesome. I mean, like, Pittsburgh's got a really tough decision. I mean, Dylan Cruz is an everyday player, and generally you're going to lean on that, but finding true frontline starting pitching that is big league ready is so rare. Because if you were to draft, think of it this way, if you were to draft Paul Skenes or draft a pitcher and you assume he's going to go through the minor league system for 2 or 3 seasons before making his big league debut, then you're shortening, right, the amount of time you'll have him in the big leagues before he goes to arbitration, ultimately free agency. If Skenes is big league ready already, then, I mean, you have a frontline starter on rookie money for 6 years before he hits free agency, and then let somebody else pay him. So that's a really tough call for Pittsburgh. Do you go with the pitcher? Do you go with the everyday player? I would still go with the everyday player. I would still go with Cruz, but I think they're both phenomenal. I don't think you can really make a bad choice. Lance Richard, good morning. Skenes looked great. That was a dumb decision to pitch him last night. I mean, overwhelmingly, I think, based on the feedback I've gotten, overwhelmingly, I would say it's like 90-10. People are like, what were you doing throwing Skenes? But the 10% are really loud. And in that 10%, I don't think you really understand. It's not about Paul Skenes shoving against Tulane, because he's the best pitcher in college baseball in a decade. Of course he was going to pitch well against a 40-loss team. He pitches great against everybody. The problem is you didn't need to use that bullet against that team, and now you don't have it today. Earl, good morning. Now, Earl's right. Beaver scored 18. Got to bring the bats today, Tigers. Now, I tweeted that last night as well, and I agree. That's the biggest part for today, is that, so Oregon State, for those that don't know, Oregon State is down a couple of pitchers. Jaron Hunter was already injured coming into this regional. And then Jacob Matz is also unavailable for this regional. So this is an Oregon State team that is thin on arms. And when you look at who's available for them right now, again, Matz isn't available. Sellers pitched. When you look at the other guys that have started for you, if you're Oregon State, you don't have a lot of great options to start, right? I'm looking at guys that have started games now. Like your two starters were Sellers and Matz were really your two weekend guys that had started. Matz had started 14 games. Sellers had started 15. Here's the other pitchers that have started. Jaron Hunter started 7 games, but he's not available as well. So AJ Lattery has started 8 times in 17 appearances, just with a 4.09 ERA. He's thrown 44 innings. He could be a candidate to throw today. Justin Thorstensen, he started 4 times in 10 appearances, only 15 innings pitched on the season. Ben Ferrer has started 3 times. He's got 41 innings pitched on the 3 starts out of 19 appearances. So you can see there, Rhett Larson has started 5 times in 14 appearances. He's got an ERA north of 5, and he's done 32 innings. So you can see the point is they don't really have a great, Oregon State doesn't have a great starting pitching option. Them not having Jacob Matz available really hamstrings them in this game as far as who's gonna throw. So you really have to have your bats show up in a big way today. And I will throw this out there. I know people were tweeting me because LSU was bunting early, but again, like for a team that's only sacrificed 12 times all year, that's so out of character to do it 3 times in a game. But Jay was looking at that game yesterday saying, I've got Paul Skenes on the mound. I can manufacture runs against this team because every time I score against Tulane, it dramatically increases our chance of winning because we give Paul Skenes a 2, 3, 4, 5 run lead. Tulane's not coming back against Skenes, and they didn't, of course. They got the 1 long ball, the 2-run homer. But I also don't think that that's something that they're going to do today. Like LSU's not going to small ball it today. They're going to have to score against this Oregon State team. Dale Broussard, good morning, Trivia Carter. Sorry, y'all, I'll start to get into the comments. I know I started with a long sort of monologue on this, and if you're just joining us, thank you. You can go back to the beginning and hear all my thoughts on the decision to start Skenes. Listen, this will be the last that I talk about. Well, I'm sure Monday when I'm back on air, we'll recap the whole regional. We'll talk about the Skenes stuff again, but mostly now, like I've spoken my piece about the decision to start Skenes. Y'all know how I feel about it. But more so, it's like, okay, that's done. You're in the marble game tonight. Now you got to go win it. So let's talk about how you go win this marble game tonight. But if y'all want to talk about the Skenes decision, all that stuff, we'll hash it out here, and then we'll move on. Let's see, Tiger Diver, who we betting today, man. Good luck, man. College baseball, what a weird game. Joel Cunningham, I hate the Skenes decision. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Seriously, it's a scared mentality by Jay. I mean, you know, Joel, a lot like LSU fans watching aren't going to like to hear that comment, but I do agree with you. I think that is the definition of coaching not to lose instead of coaching to win the regional. That is the definition of coaching not to lose. That is, you know, you got a 3-score lead in the second half, and so you just run the football, or a 2-score lead, you're just running the football to try to run up the clock, and you go 3 and out on 3 straight possessions, and you're giving them an open door to get back in the game. Like that's the equivalent of what you did yesterday. You definitely played that game yesterday. You approached that game with a not to lose mentality. Michael Broussard, good morning from Champaign, Illinois. Garrett Petrie, Bruce Shales, good morning. Headed to Destin, okay, man. Safe travel. Shane Henry, Michael Collins, good morning. Off topic, who do you think will get number 7 for football? Sorry, dude, I don't care. Today, I'm not talking about who's wearing number 7 for LSU. Like, no disrespect, Michael. Like, come back and ask me tomorrow or something. But like, given what we're in the middle of right now, everybody's watching the talk baseball. Nobody cares about who's wearing jersey number 7. So, I'm not dismissing the question, but let me dismiss it today. Jeb Whitley, Matt, have you had Elijah Craig toasted? I have. It's fantastic. It's their regular 94 proof that they just toast. Let's see. So Spartan King, I'm reading the comments, is one of those who disagrees. He said, I think y'all are wrong about the decision. The team needed that. I don't know. I would kind of need you to elaborate a little bit more, because I don't know what you mean by the team needed that. Like, you know, I've heard this meant like, Jay has said all year, you approach every game like it's a playoff. You go out to win every game, but that's just not true. I mean, you were in Hoover and you pulled Skenes in the 4th inning. You weren't trying to win that game. Look, the players on the field, yes, you want to play hard and go try to win every time. You're not like tanking, but you have to approach baseball with the bigger picture mentality. You're trying to win a national championship. You're not trying to win a game. You're trying to win a regional. You're not trying to win a game in the regional, right? So it's different. Like, you have to think big picture. You can't think in the microscope of one game. Anyway, I mean, and look, if you're saying that we're wrong, then Skip Ertman's wrong, Paul Maneri's wrong, Mike Rooney on ESPN is wrong. Like, literally, Hannah Griff, who's watched more baseball than anyone I know, called games for a decade at LSU and knows more baseball than anyone I know. Hunt Musso, the biggest baseball nerd, like me. I mean, I'm a baseball nerd. Those guys make me look normal. So you're all of these people who know this game intricately, and by the way, the other 15 coaches of regional seeds that all pitched off and they're holding their ace for the marble game. You're saying all of them are wrong, and that Jay's like counterintuitive thought is right, which, look, I want to reiterate again. It's not to say, oh, they just lost the regional. I mean, Ty Floyd is more than capable of winning tonight. LSU's bats are more than capable of exploding against Oregon State tonight. I think all of us agree, though, like literally everyone watching right now, all of us, LSU would have a better chance of beating Oregon State with Paul Skenes and Ty Floyd. And you could have had Paul Skenes available, but you chose to burn him against a 40-loss team. That's the thing that just doesn't make sense. So Cliff Nelson said, make Skenes starting makes sense. It doesn't. Like, it just, Jay was I'm certain Jay was thinking, let's just go get the win and get into the winner's bracket. But man, you could have done that with, anybody else on your staff. Like, if you want to throw Ty Floyd yesterday against Tulane, okay. Hurd's been great over the last 6 weeks. Throw Floyd yesterday, Skenes today, and then you got Hurd to get you through against the team that's going to be playing their 5th game. LSU fan uproar around here about Skenes starting, and it's justified. Especially the way Oregon State hit the ball. That's the point. Bo Revere, we better get the win today. Time for Floyd to become a legend. Let's see. Devin Kelly, good morning. Joey Metke, Jeff Hawk, good morning from West Palm. Glad you made it, dude. Glad you made it, man. So our guy Jeff was living out of a hotel room in Kansas City for like a month up there for work. God bless him, man. Finally shook free. Was up in North Louisiana earlier this week, but now is visiting his daughter in West Palm. So hopefully you get some sun and some good R&R, man. Jeb, I don't get it either. With both Coach Johnsons, you would think they could approach this with common sense, knowing the offenses Oregon State and Sam Houston have. Why did he do that? And that's the other part of it, as well as understanding who you're playing, because both Oregon State and Sam Houston are really good offensive teams. I mean, we can go through Oregon State a little bit if you want to talk about you saw their offense yesterday, but cumulatively as a team, they hit 296, but Travis Bazana's hitting 387, Micah McDowell's hitting 356, Garrett Forrester's hitting 336. Jacob Krieg is hitting 333. Mason Guerra is hitting 330. Tice Peterson is hitting 313. Brady Casper hitting 300. Gavin Turley, who's a pretty interesting story in his own right. He's got 11 bombs on the season. He's hitting 299. So, I mean, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hitters 300 or above, and then your eighth guy, Gavin Turley, is at 299. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4. They've got 5 with double-digit homers, and Mikey Kane has 9. So he's one away from having 6 players with double-digit homers. Like, this is a really good offensive baseball team. Like you saw, it's not a fluke what they did to Sam. Like Oregon State is a like Oregon State is a good team. Obviously, Mitch Canham is their is their coach who played under Pat Casey at Oregon State. Pat Casey, of course, retired, and Mitch Canham, who played there, took over. But this is a team that got started a little slowly. They got swept by Stanford to open the season. Won a series against Cal. Won a series against Washington. Won a series against Oregon. So they kind of really bounced back. They swept SC. So they started rolling, but then they lost the series to Arizona State. Came back and swept Arizona. Won 2 out of 3 against Utah. And so they kind of positioned themselves. They won a series against UCLA. And so they positioned themselves to win the Pac-12, but ended up finishing second, and then went 2 and done in the Pac-12 tournament, which probably cost them an opportunity to host. Like, this is a team that, with a better showing in the Pac-12 tournament, was kind of right on the verge there. They had an RPI in the 30s, which is, I think 37 was their RPI. They had a good number of quad 1 wins. They had a good conference record. They just stubbed their toe. You're getting swept in that first weekend, then dropped the series late. So they finished second in the league, and then went 2 and done in Scottsdale at the Pac-12 tournament. Otherwise, they'd be hosting. So, like, this is a good Oregon State team. They are thin on the mound. Like, we've talked about that a little bit for those that are just joining and missed it. And do us a favor, if you are watching, smash that like button. But Jaron Hunter and Jacob Matz, 2 of their starting pitchers, not available for this weekend. So that is a huge benefit to LSU. I don't know who Oregon State is going to throw tonight. You don't have to make that announcement until about 90 minutes before first pitch. And you're probably, when I'm just looking at them, you're probably looking at maybe AJ Lattery. The guy's thrown 44 innings, has 8 starts on the season. I mean, that's an option for him there. But either way, it's probably a thing where if it's Oregon State, if it's Sam Houston, if you win this game tonight, those 2 teams would obviously have to come back and play again on Sunday morning, and then have to come back and play you Sunday night. And if they win that game, they'll have to come back and play again Monday. Both Sam Houston and Oregon State are going to be out of pitching. So I really believe, y'all, this, as much as we've talked about LSU's bullpen and all those issues, like this regional, the rest of the way is squarely on the LSU offense. You have the best offense in college baseball. You got the best player in college baseball. You have a deep, talented lineup. You have got to go bludgeon the baseball the rest of the way. Like, I think, and I knock on wood, I hope this isn't the case. Like, I think LSU is going to need to score double digits tonight. Oregon State's that good. They're a pesky team. They put a lot of pressure on you. I hope Floyd is awesome tonight, but I think this is a game. Y'all can clip this, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Y'all come laugh at me. I think this is a game where LSU is going to need to score double digits tonight. I think this is going to be an offensive night. Andy Roberts, morning, Matt. Trying to give Jay the benefit of the doubt. If we win tonight, that decision won't matter. Thoughts on Hurd going to warm up? Looks like they're going to use him in the pen. I was surprised Thatcher Hurd was warming up, because my assumption is you're going to throw Ty Floyd today, and then Hurd would be available for the regional finale. If anything, what we saw in Hoover was they used Javen Coleman out of the bullpen in the game against Texas A&M. I would assume that's the guy that they maybe try to look to get multiple outings if possible. But Hurd's been great out of the bullpen. If they wanted to use him to close the game, use him in multiple games in this regional, okay. It's fun. So, like, Spartan King said he pitched 9 innings, that saved the pen. A bullpen that you all complained is terrible. I mean, so, like, great. You've got a bullpen that has not pitched well that's going to now have to pitch against an Oregon State team that hits 300 as a team and scored 18 runs yesterday. So, like, do you understand? Like, there is no counter argument to the point of who would you rather have tonight against Oregon State, Paul Skenes or Ty Floyd? Like, that answer should be unanimous. Like, we all agree there should be no dissenters. Like, in a vacuum, if you're playing Oregon State tonight, would you rather have Paul Skenes or Ty Floyd? 100% of the people watching right now will say Paul Skenes, because that is the answer. He's the best pitcher college baseball seen in a decade. And you could have had him for the game tonight, but you decided to use him against a team that's lost 40 games when you could have thrown Ty Floyd. You could have thrown Thatcher Hurd, which was my choice. Which, by the way, is also the choice that Skip Bertman and Paul Maneri said on radio this week. You could have, so go tell Skip Bertman and Paul Maneri they don't know anything about baseball. You could have thrown Javen Coleman. Like, you had so many options to get through that game against Tulane yesterday, and you burned Skenes. Dale Broussard said about Auburn wishes they had thrown their ace yesterday. Auburn's a 1 seed that lost, and it happens. There were, I think, 3 1 seeds that lost yesterday. And none of them were facing, by the way, Auburn is not a great baseball team. And none of them were at Alec Box Stadium. And none of them were facing a 40-loss team. Again, if the situation presented where the 4 seed in your regional was a team where you legitimately thought they could beat us, okay, then I'm good throwing Skenes. We gave, for those who just joined and missed at the beginning, gave that in this format, which has been in place since 1999, the only time that I can remember, the only time that's happened, that LSU threw their ace in a 1 versus 4 matchup was 1999. Skip threw Kurt Ainsworth because ULM was throwing Ben Sheets, who of course was a big leader, and it was the right decision that year. But it's the only time ever. Anthony, good morning. Can't agree with you more. I don't get it. Johnson compromised the rest of the regional. He did. Hang on one second, y'all. Drew's backpack's beeping. Let me go grab that real quick. Sorry about that, y'all. There's always shout out to Brock, Hudco. Need an orthopedist, call Brock. Need a roof, call Hudco. Real quick, so someone, wait, I'll get the question here, or the comment here in a second. I'm sorry, y'all. 1 second. My apologies. There it is. Boom. Okay. Let's see. Henry Bennett said Dolander pitched yesterday from Tennessee. No, he didn't. Dolander did not pitch yesterday. Tennessee threw Andrew Lindsay, who gave them 7 innings of 1-run, 5-hit baseball. So they have Dolander going today. The only one that I would tell you that you could look at and say maybe is a little bit, and this isn't exactly what and what because it's not a 1 seed, but A&M beat Cal State Fullerton in a 2-3 matchup, and A&M started Will Johnston, who LSU saw, remember, in the SEC tournament, and okay, sorry, okay, A&M through Will Johnston, their best pitcher has been Nathan Detmer. But Detmer, let me rephrase that. Detmer had previously been their Friday guy, but got moved to Saturday. Although he's their best arm, they've been throwing him second, so they kept that rotation with Detmer, their best arm, throwing second, who will throw the winner's bracket game today. That's the one that you could say maybe because Johnston had been their Friday guy and they kept him in the first game, but Detmer has been their better pitcher. They just pitched off. The same thing that Tennessee did when they moved Dolander to the second game. They started Lindsey last night. Anyway, point being, and by the way, neither of those were 1 versus 4 matchups. Those were 2-3 matchups. So no, like of the 15 other regional hosts, no other 1 seed threw their ace. And LSU did, and they did it with the guy who's the best player in the country. It doesn't make sense. See, look, saving the pen really doesn't matter in our case. That's kind of true. Let's see. Spartan King, I get you're like the one guy on this island by yourself. It's like, I guess you know all the answers and we don't. Like, again, the point is you're disagreeing with how regional plays have been structured and how teams with the 1 seed home advantage have approached regionals for the 24 years of this format. So like Jay Johnson did something counterintuitive. He did something that teams don't do in this format. And especially when you have Paul Skenes. So like you can point the finger at me and act like I'm this crazy person who's just hammering the LSU coach, but like I'm telling you, like argue with Skip Bertman, who said it on Charles and Jimmy's show this week. He would start Hurd. Argue with Paul Maneri, national champion, Hall of Fame winning coach, 6 consecutive national seeds, 5 trips to Omaha. Like argue with him that he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm not saying again that it won't work, but you took a borderline reckless. Jay Johnson made a borderline reckless decision in burning Paul Skenes against Tulane. Justin Marquez, you have been a huge JJ defender. Thank you. That's the point, right? Like, I'm the guy who all year, when people have, for the last 2 months, who have been crapping on this team, they're not good enough, they're not passionate enough, they know the bullpen stinks, nobody's good after Skenes. You know, it's Skenes and everybody else with an ERA of 7. They stink. Wes Johnson's overrated. Like, I've heard that all year from y'all. And I have defended this team. Like, I have been the guy defending this team, defending this coaching staff. And that person is telling you today, Jay Johnson made a terrible decision yesterday. It was an awful decision that nobody else would have made. It's not to say it won't work. It's not to say we're going to be sitting here on Monday talking about LSU losing a regional. All I'm saying is, and the point I'll continue to make, is LSU with Paul Skenes today, we all feel better about the game than LSU today with Ty Floyd. I hope Floyd goes out and goes 8 1/3 of 1-run baseball and LSU wins it 15-2. I mean, or 15-1, whatever. Like, I hope LSU just absolutely crushes today. But there's an unnecessary, like, if LSU had thrown Floyd yesterday, or Hurd or whoever and won that game, we're sitting here today going, great, Oregon State scored 18 yesterday against Sam Houston. Good luck with Paul Skenes. That's what we're all doing today. And instead, we're going, Oregon State scored 18 against Sam Houston, man. They got 8 guys in their lineup hitting 300. They got 6 double-digit homer guys. Floyd has been really good, but at times he's been kind of shaky, which Floyd shows up. Like the conversation, the feeling today is dramatically different because you don't have Paul Skenes on the mound. Nick Hessler. Matt, Jay's game plan was to use the best pitcher in America against the worst team in the tournament. I get madder every time I think about it. Again, like, I'm probably preaching to the choir because looking at all of the feedback that I've gotten on Twitter, on all the platforms, everything, it's 90-10. 90% of the people are like, what in the hell was he doing? I can't believe he burned Skenes. The 10% are these really loud, it's the loud minority that's just falling in line with whatever the coach does and just wants to disagree with me. But again, you're not just disagreeing with me. You're disagreeing with me, every other coach of the tournament, every other coach of the last 25 years, Skip Bertman, Paul Maneri, every media person that's come out, Mike Rooney on TV, Hannegriff, Musso, Hunt. Like, everyone's going, what are you doing? It doesn't make sense. Nick Keller, 1,000% agree. If you can't beat a 40-loss team with their 2 or 3 starters, shouldn't be playing postseason baseball. Eric Waterrotter, is there an excuse that exists in the universe that even kind of makes sense to you with Skenes? No. Like literally none. There is literally, I mean, I hate to say it this way, y'all, but Jay Johnson coached scared yesterday. He did. Like, and I think he's fantastic. He's going to be fantastic for this program. He's a fantastic recruiter. He's proven that. But like, look at a lot of the things like, Jay Johnson still never disclosed that Chase Shores and Garrett Edwards had Tommy John. Like, and it's his prerogative, but he won't talk about injuries. He won't name a starting pitcher. He doesn't want to disclose any type of thing about anything. What happened with Tommy White in the SEC tournament? Like, he doesn't have to disclose any of this stuff, but it makes you look like, man, is it like Oregon State, Mitch Canham just disclosed he's not going to have 2 pitchers for this regional. Like, does that put them at a disadvantage? I still got to go swing the bat and get hits and make pitches. It's one of the reasons why like baseball has open practices, because ultimately there's not a lot of like, it's not like football where you're putting in a game plan specific for that team and you've got new wrinkles in your offense and you're trying to catch them off guard. Like, you're either going to execute pitches and play good defense and put good swings and have patient at bats, or you're not. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the point. I mean, anyway, smash the like button if you would. 234 watching live there on YouTube, which I love to see. If you're new, please subscribe up to the channel. As always, shout out to Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, and Hudco Roofing. You need an orthopedist, go to Brock. You need a roof, Hudco. Got Hudco pinned in the chat. Y'all, Thursday, June 1st, was the official start of hurricane season. It's terrifying to think. I know it's already here, but if you find yourself in need of a roof repair, replacement, or you want us to give you a free, no-obligation roofing inspection, Hudco Roofing, HudcoRoofing.com. Kirk said, Jay said it was to set up the pitching in the pen for the rest of the weekend. Jay didn't give an explanation. I listened to his post-game press conference. He just didn't really give an explanation. And he said before, like, don't ask me about pitching. I'm not giving you, like, again, it's his prerogative, but like at the highest level of baseball, they set pitching rotations. Like, we know who's getting the ball. It's just not whatever. Sean Gasser, Scott Fontenot, good morning. Kerry Hughes, good morning. Kerry Hughes said, and again, I'm missing comments. He said, why does pitching Skenes yesterday feel like Les Miles made a return to campus? I literally texted that to Hunt Palmer last night. I said that was some Les Miles BS. That was run the ball, punt, play defense, win 12-7. Play not to lose instead of being aggressive, playing to win. I literally texted that to Hunt Palmer last night. That's what that was. That's what that was yesterday. That was, you're playing an FCS school and you win 23-12. And you're like, why didn't we score 100 on this team? Cajun Country, morning, Matt. I think I had the same nightmare last night. LSU could have used Blake Money, Sam Dutton, Bryce Collins. I trust Jay, but that is risky. That is an absolute fact. That it was, he made it, he took an unnecessary risk. Let's see. Bart St. Germain, could not agree more with you on this. I believe said, we're all right, but I'm bummed I have tickets today. Was hoping to see Skenes. I wouldn't be as bummed if Oregon State didn't absolutely slaughter the ball yesterday. Hunter Fournette, hypothetically, if you get blackballed by second coach at LSU, at what point do you realize it's a you thing and not a them thing? Yeah, but Hunter, I don't care. That's like what I think you probably miss. My job is not to work for LSU. My job is not to be a sunshine pumper. My job is not to tell you what you want to hear or play to the masses. My job is to give you honest opinions. And the reason I've had the success I have, so I mean, to your point, Hunter, I'm first show ever to be syndicated in New Orleans, Alexandria, about to go into Lafayette and Lake Charles, TV as well, highest ratings, highest revenue, most awarded, like name any metric. And this is not me bragging, like name any measurable, and AFR is the most successful sports talk show in the history of the state. Again, I don't mean to sound douchey. Excuse me, I know it's morning Scone. That's not like, but if tomorrow every one of you decided I'm not listening to Scone anymore, I'd be okay. Like I would go on and do something else with my life, because in this profession, you just do your job, and people either listen or they don't. They watch or they don't. They like it or they don't. That's okay. Not everyone has to agree with me all the time. That's fine. But what that says more than anything, Hunter, is, and by the way, Jay's not going to blackball me. Jay and I are fine. I just disagree with this decision. It was Ogeron who was, again, Ogeron was at a point where he was so over his skis that, like, he just didn't take criticism. And Oliva was part of that as well, but it was a weird situation. But the point being, like, I don't work for LSU. And if you are in that position and you can't handle any type of criticism, then, like, you shouldn't be in that position. Jay Johnson makes $2 million. People, 12,000 people go to the games. They're on national TV. It's a big deal. Like, you are going to take criticism and you're also going to get accolades, and that's fine. Like, it's fine both ways, man. But if you can't take criticism, then you're probably not going to do well in that job. Which, again, Jay hasn't had any problem with that. Ed did. Joe Oliva did. But go back to the point, like, if a coach wants to blackball me or anybody wants to blackball me, I don't care, because I don't work for them. I do a show, I work for Guarantee Media, and I do a show for the audience that I hope you find is compelling. And if you do, you watch and listen, and that's worked really well for me. And if not, okay. I'm good. I'll find something. Eddie Stanford, I've been arguing with people since yesterday about this decision. People can't wrap their heads around the idea of playing percentages, blindly defend Jay because he is the coach. That's basically what's happened. Let's see. Randall Offrett, good morning. Matt, OSU is a really good offense. LSU probably needs 7 or 8 runs to win tonight. I think it will probably be more than 7 or 8. Caleb Lemoyne wanted to break my TV yesterday when I found out about Skenes pitching. Told you a couple of weeks ago, won't make it past the regional. Hopefully I'm wrong. Don't understand JJ sometimes. I mean, Caleb, the confidence, like the supreme confidence I had in LSU winning a regional was always with the assumption that Paul Skenes would be pitching the marble game. Because, again, there was always, you could throw whoever you want in game 1, have Skenes go in game 2, and now someone's got to play a game, then come back and beat you twice, which has happened. Again, we saw it in 2014 when Houston came back and beat LSU twice. But it's also rare. That's an outlier. But, and then if you move on into the super regional round, you got Skenes going game 1, and you always feel good about that. So there's reason to feel good. I guess my point with LSU this whole year has been, if you play your way through, this team could play its way through the winner's bracket. I do not feel good about them playing their way through through the losers bracket. So, and Skenes gives you that option, right, to always play through the winners bracket. Peter Fenner, good morning, Matt Lusso. Do we have any insight on JJ's thought process? No, he didn't really disclose much. Austin Kidder, good morning. Only thing I can think of is Johnson didn't want to pitch Skenes on 6 days rest, but that's okay. So again, y'all, when you, I know you know this, but I'm going to say it for the benefit of those that don't. When you pitch in pro baseball, you pitch on 5 days rest. So you pitch every 6th day, right? There's 5-man rotation. You basically get those days rest, and then you pitch. You get your every 5-man rotation to every 5th game you pitch. To have a full 6 days, yes, you're a creature of habit, but like Paul Skenes is also a different level type guy. And to pitch on 5 days rest instead of 6 is ample. Skenes has done it twice already this year, where LSU played on a Thursday after Skene pitched on a Friday. The Tennessee series and the Georgia series. Against Tennessee, again on short rest. 7 innings, 1 run, 5 hits, 12 strikeouts. Pretty good. The Georgia series on short rest. 7 innings pitched, 2 runs, 4 hits, 12 strikeouts. Like, it's not like you're bringing a guy back on 3 days rest. Like, sometimes, like, that's controversial in the major leagues when you bring back a big league pitcher on 3 days rest. Skenes throwing on 5 days rest is not a big deal. Like, he's done it twice. They've already done it. He's done it twice this year. So it's like legitimately not a thing. Like, we've already seen him do it twice this year. Like, if that were a thing, Jay wouldn't have thrown him on a Thursday after Friday before this year, but he's done it twice already this year with I mean, impeccable results. So that's that doesn't hold water. And that's not an opinion. Like, they've done it this year. Brian Penton, good morning from Albuquerque, New Mexico, home of Alex Bregman. Yes, sir. Let's see. Louis Malhoy, good morning. Not worried about the pitching. Leaving people on base is my worry. If this team can hit and move runners, nobody's out hitting them. Cortland, Jay knew our offense wasn't going to produce enough to risk giving up 5 or 6 runs. Cortland, see, here's where I disagree with that. Again, the offensive approach yesterday, in each of the first 3 innings, LSU had the first 2 on with nobody out. And they were bunting. Like, if you can, suspend what we all know my feeling about bunting in this situation. Just look at numbers. LSU has 12 sacrifices on the year. Okay, you've played 60 games. You've sacrificed 12 times on the year. Like, that's once every 4 games. LSU doesn't do it, and they did it multiple times at the beginning of the game yesterday. Why? Because they had Paul Skenes on the mound. Like, they knew, hey, look, I can manufacture a run here, and it increases our chance of winning exponentially, because every time we score a run, we know Paul Skenes ain't giving up 4, 5, 6 runs. So they went small ball yesterday. LSU played Tulane earlier this year and scored 11 at Turchin. LSU would have absolutely, had they just gone with an approach of free swinging, yeah, they would have busted through and they would have scored 12 runs in that game. They didn't need it. Cliff, no Don Juan today. Nope, no Don Juan, unfortunately. Don Juan passed on having me and T there today. So I think they said they couldn't get it staffed. So because usually when we come, we bring a crowd, so they got to staff up, but they couldn't get it staffed. So no Don Juan today. I will probably fire up just a post-game stream here. So if y'all are hanging out after the LSU game tonight, I'll probably fire up a live stream and we can hang out and talk about it. Marshall Andrus, Josh Giraldo, well said, my dude. The risk analysis is spot on. It literally cannot be argued. And again, thank you, Josh. But again, that it's not to say LSU's going to lose the regional. They could very well still win. They could win tonight. They could sweep the regional. But you took an unnecessary risk that lessens your chances of winning tonight. Like that is factual. Like your odds of winning are less with Ty Floyd on the mound as opposed to Paul Skenes on the mound. That's the point. Like you could have just flipped them. You could have thrown Floyd yesterday and thrown Skenes today. Eddie Stanford, good morning. I'm mad. I said, I'm with you, Matt. People are mad at me for not trusting Jay. I don't put my trust in people. Listen, I mean, I'll reiterate this, and I don't mean to keep repeating myself, but in the 21 hours or so since the announcement came that they were starting Skenes, I would say 90% of the feedback I've gotten, literally 90% of the feedback has been, Matt, I agree with you. What the hell is he thinking? The 10% of the people like the guy, sorry, I forgot his name, but who's the one who keeps, what do you know? You're not like, whatever. Stephen Gibbs, surprised but not mad. Could we be thinking today's game, but JJ's thinking Monday in case it comes to that? See, but I don't, so are you suggesting that Skenes would come back and pitch Monday? Because I will tell you this flatly, and I've seen some people say that. I would put everything I own, everything. Now, maybe this would be stupid because I would never have thought he would have made a decision to throw Skenes yesterday. But after throwing 124 pitches on Friday, I would put everything I own on there being no shot Skenes throws on Monday. Not even a dozen pitches. Like that dude's about to cash in $9 million in a month. There's like literally, I cannot in this day and age of arm care and protecting arms, and Jay and Wes Johnson have been so careful about that, like every coach is, right? I cannot fathom Skenes pitching again in this regional. Like there is just no reality where that should happen. I don't know if that's what you're saying, but just if it is. Kyle Milliken, Matt, can't stand the small ball bunting BS. If they come out and try small ball today, what will you think about it? Again, Kyle, I don't think they're going to do that today. Again, I think that was very specific to that game yesterday, because I think it was very specific to yesterday because they had Skenes on the mound. They knew that every run they got, they could just exponentially increase the chance of winning. Hughes, Bowden, Penn put a damper on team never bunt. No, they didn't. So for those that missed it, Penn bunted like 3 times in the 9th and won against Auburn. Who cares? Like, that's not the point. Like, again, people like you continue to miss the whole point. The point is bunting in baseball today is at a 40-year low because analytics have never been higher, and analytics continue to show bunting is not statistically the right decision to make. It's not to say it never works. It's just to say in baseball, where you play a game of analytics and percentages, you make the high percentage play. And what we know, again, this is not opinion, this is facts based on deep level analytics of all levels of baseball. Bunting, some of you, it feels like the right thing to do at times. Statistically, it's not the best play. Like, this isn't even an argument. Like, it's there is math, like, which says this is not the right thing to do. This is not the highest percentage probability of a positive outcome. If LSU loses, it's because their offense can't get going. I fully expected LSU to barely scrape across 4 runs yesterday. I'm going to disagree with you on that one, Corley. And again, I believe said 7-2 doesn't guarantee we win throwing anyone. But again, the way LSU approached the game offensively, especially early, was playing small ball to play for a run instead of playing for the big inning. For very obvious reasons, you have Paul Skenes on the mound. You knew you weren't going to need to hang a lot of crooked numbers to beat Tulane with Skenes on the mound, beat anyone with Skenes on. Alex DeVilliers, I agree with a bonehead move. Let's see. What happens if Floyd and Hurd bombed yesterday and we used 3 or 4 pitchers? Or what if they both went out and pitched really well and you scored 20? Like, again, baseball is a game where if you make, I mean, I say this all the time, so I'll say it again right now. Baseball is a game where you fail 70% of the time and you're in the Hall of Fame. It's a game where you play percentages and play probability odds. The best pitcher in the country could certainly lose on a given day. It's the nature of the game. You play percentages. What were the percentages that Thatcher Hurd, Ty Floyd, or any LSU pitcher would have beaten Tulane? We saw them play earlier this year. LSU won at Turchin Stadium. LSU won at Turchin 11-5. So you went on the road and beat them 11-5. You threw Christian Little for an inning, Blake Money for 2 1/3, Bryce Collins for 2 2/3, Sam Dutton for an inning, Riley Cooper for an inning, Thatcher Hurd for an inning. And you won 11-5. You were playing yesterday a terrible baseball team. You didn't need to throw Paul Skenes to beat that team. That's the point. Could even play? Yeah, look, I mean, I watched a regional in 2013 where Aaron Nola, who was the National Pitcher of the Year, was pitching the marble game against, coincidentally, Sam Houston. LSU commits 3 errors in the first inning. Nola throws 45 pitches, and LSU's down 5-0 in the first. 5-0 in the first, with Aaron Nola on the mound. Now, they came back and won, but were you comfortable with Aaron Nola on the mound? Of course you were. Like, that's who you throw in that situation. Yeah, Nick Hessler said, Matt, so he didn't trust Floyd to beat Tulane, but he trusts Floyd to beat Oregon State. I don't know that it's it. I understand your point, and it's valid. It's not to say you didn't trust Floyd. He was playing the percentage saying, who gives me a better chance of beating Tulane? And Paul Skenes gives you a better chance of beating anybody. The problem is you could have beaten Tulane with anybody, and instead you burned your best bullet. Now you don't have them today. Andy Boy, good morning. Eddie Stanford, even my mother, who never watches this stuff, was watching with me yesterday and said it was a dumb move. She understands basic sports knowledge despite her general lack of interest. Cliff Nelson, Musso wasn't happy either on air. Shout out to Musso. Great job all week. Yeah, man, shout out to Musso. Appreciate him for filling in while I was out all week. I went back and listened. I listened to what Hunt had to say, what Handy had to say, what Musso had to say. And sometimes do it. Just check. So, like, I don't think I'm missing it here, but I mean, there was a consensus yesterday. Jay Johnson's decision was not a popular one. And they better win tonight. I pray they do, man. I mean, selfishly, from a radio show standpoint, I want LSU to go to Omaha every year because it gives me content all the way through June. But the fan in me, of course, wants them to win. I mean, I want them to win everything. So, I mean, it's why everybody's reaction was the same. Like, nobody expected Skenes in that spot. John Favors, can we discuss the 3 teams that lost as a 1 seed? We only scored 7 yesterday. I was perplexed as anyone. But to just shut down the alternate view. Ben McDonald called and supported this on OTB Friday morning. I didn't hear what Ben said. I'd happily go back and listen. I will say sometimes when you're in that spot of calling a game, you do tend to play more of the neutral explain something as opposed to giving a hard and fast opinion on it. And sure, we could talk about the 3 teams that lost as a 1 seed because it's baseball and those things do happen. But I'm going to go back to the point. Number one, Auburn isn't as good a team as LSU. Like, that's not a giant surprise. Coastal Carolina isn't as good a team as LSU. LSU playing at home, context matters. LSU playing at home against a 40-loss Tulane should not have had to use Paul Skenes to win that game. That's the point. If LSU were the 1 seed and they were playing a 4 seed that was a 51-5 conference champion that hit 400 as a team, yeah, okay, I get it. That's a 4 seed that could jump up and beat you. Now, why is that team a 4 seed? You understand. But, like, generally speaking, and especially when you're LSU at home, could Ty Floyd have beaten Tulane? Yeah. That's why you pitch off in a regional. Ryan Pike, commentators mentioned he could work on developing his third pitch before being part of a bullpen starting. What do you think? I mean, I heard Ben yesterday, Ben McDonald on the broadcast talking about Skenes, said, like, he'll be in the major leagues next year, which I agree with. Whether he's a starter or coming out of the bullpen, I don't know. But, Skenes will get drafted this summer. He'll play rookie ball. And then at some point next year, next baseball season, he'll be in the show. Let's see. Let's see. Roll through here. Man, I'm so far behind on comments. My apologies. Let me actually go to the bottom and then work my way back up, since I think a lot of comments might have come through that some people may have left since I've already said. Brant Roban said, "What moment was it when you and Ogeron got dicey?" I mean, I disagreed with the hire the day he was hired. And from that point on, he never actually, I mean, it was always. Charles Reese, Jay said the Tulane team was different than the team they played in April. He was scared, no doubt. I do believe he coached scared yesterday. I do. I don't think it's a reflection on him. I hope it's not a long-term reflection on him, but I do believe he coached that game scared. He coached that game not to lose, instead of saying, what are we going to do that gives us the best chance to win the regional? I think he coached to say, what's the best thing we can do to not get upset by Tulane? Sean Gasser said we can't have Morgan batting behind White again. I agree with that. I understand wanting to go Cruz Morgan or Cruz White back to back, but you have to have protection. Like whenever they were putting Cruz then Pearson in the 2-hole, I don't think it's a coincidence we saw Cruz slump at that point, because Pearson isn't great protection for Cruz. I would almost rather see Pearson lead off. I don't want to see that. I would rather see Dugas go back and lead off. I think Dugas, Morgan, Cruz, White, Travinsky is your best lineup. But I know Jay loves the lefty-righty thing, and he seems to have settled on having Pearson in the everyday lineup. And if you want to put Pearson in the 9-hole, that's cool. What do you do if you play Milazzo? Again, I don't think Milazzo it seemed like was catching Skenes. Travinsky caught yesterday with Skenes pitching, so I don't know that Milazzo plays this weekend, so I don't think you have to answer that question. I think Travinsky's in your lineup every day. Now, the one caveat I'd say there, let me correct myself, is you are playing an Oregon State team today that has attempted 39 stolen bases on the year. They're 36 of 39. So if you want a better defensive catcher to sort of control the running game, Milazzo would probably be the better defensive option tonight, and then you would DH Travinsky. Daryl Fontenot said, if you give Skenes a 95% chance of winning tonight, what chance do you give Ty and or a bullpen guy or two? So, Daryl, I understand the question, but I wouldn't even look at like what my percentage would be. I would literally go look at Las Vegas odds. Like, let me see if I can find the line. Hang on. You know what? I would probably have to go to, let's see. Hang on 1 second. Let me see if I can find this real quick. My apologies. Just real quick, let me see if I can find what the line is on tonight's game. Let's see. College baseball boom. Okay. Here we go. Let's see how LSU plays tonight. Here, this is going to be the late game, isn't it? Okay, LSU is minus 165 against Oregon State, so they're still a healthy favorite. If it were Skenes on the mound, you'd probably like Vanderbilt, for example, at home against Oregon tonight in a marble game. Vanderbilt's minus 250. You'd probably be looking at more something like that. LSU's minus 165. They'd with Skenes, they'd probably be like minus 250, maybe even higher. So you're still a favorite tonight. You're still a heavy favorite tonight. You would have just been like an overwhelming favorite if Skenes were pitching tonight. Okay, let's see. So Eric said, look, minus 165 is an implied win probability of 62%. Ghastly Gamer, good morning. Gulf South, good morning. Previous Tulane game doesn't really matter. It was a midweek game. They don't count. Houston swept Tulane during the season, lost 2 or 3 in the AAC tournament. Tulane was hot. Tulane was hot for 1 week. Tulane was hot for 1 week. Out of a February, March, April, May, no, sorry, June. Out of 4 months, they were hot for 1 week. I'm going to bet that the team that was hot for a week isn't the team that you see show up at the box on a Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock in regional play with Ty floating on them out and LSU free swing. Let's see. David Bass, good morning. Stuart Andrews, mad if Jay didn't start Skenes yesterday, he would not have been set up to start the Super Regional. Okay, Stuart, I addressed this earlier. I'm going to say it again. Like, flatly, you're wrong. And I don't mean to be, like, I don't mean for that to come across as, like, super aggressive or anything. But we've seen Skenes pitch on short rest twice already this year, where LSU threw, where they played a Friday, and then Skenes started Thursday, and then was back the next week. So we've seen that happen twice already this year. It was against Tennessee and Georgia, and both outings he went 7 innings, gave up 1 run against Tennessee, 2 runs against Georgia, and struck out 12 in both outings. So the argument that if Skenes hadn't pitched yesterday, he wouldn't be available for game 1 of the Super is just wrong, because we've seen him do that already this year. Like, having 6 days of rest like you have in college baseball is kind of excessive. These are college pitchers, I get it. Skenes, but especially for Skenes, he's a different animal. But guys throwing on a Thursday, or excuse me, on a Friday, and then coming back on a Thursday is, or in this case, he would have been throwing on a Saturday, coming back on a Friday. That happens all the time. Like, that's really not a point at all. Let's see. Zachary Snyder, morning. Seen a lot of Arkansas fans in the post about Paul going 9 innings, saying they still own him. Hope we see them again. I don't care about Arkansas fans. Let's see. Let's see. Strong side said keys to winning tonight. So strong side, I'd love to see a real strong outing out of. Would love to see a strong outing out of Floyd. If Floyd can get you through 6 with the lead, I feel really good. But I really truly believe tonight you're going to have to score double-digit runs. I mean, Oregon State's a good offensive team. They put up 18 runs yesterday. And I think they're the type of team that can kind of pester you, right? They'll work a count, they'll draw a walk, they'll steal a base. You know, they'll put pressure on the defense. And I think LSU, because the defense, which started so good this year, and certainly I think objectively in the last month month plus has struggled a little more. When you play a team that maybe is going to put a lot of pressure on you defensively, I think that I think, look, I would love to see LSU go win this game 10-2. I think you're probably more looking at a game in like the 10-8, 9-7 type. Vegas has the total in this game at 14.5, so they're projecting 14 or 15 runs scored. So they're looking at like an 8-6 type game. You know, 8-6, 9-7, something like that, which feels right. But I think for LSU to really feel comfortable, I think you're gonna have to get to double digits. So Gulf South had brought up an interesting point. He said, I don't think Skenes throws Monday either, but if that's his normal bullpen day, I could see a scenario if needed. Skenes could talk us going to the mound for an inning. And we have seen that before. So one thing I don't know, and this would be a really good question for Jay or for Wes Johnson, is what is Skenes' weekly like routine? Like when does he? So for those that don't know, like pitchers have a weekly routine. So like if you're Skenes and you pitch on a Friday, you probably do like nothing on a Saturday, maybe some like light toss on a Sunday, maybe a flat ground on a Monday, maybe like a 12 pitch bullpen on a Tuesday, maybe some like long toss and a longer bullpen on Wednesday, like rest Thursday, pitch Friday, maybe something like that. So what Gulf South is saying, if it's your bullpen day, when you're going to get on the bump, when you're actually going to not do a flat ground or like a soft toss or a long toss, you're going to go actually on the mound and throw like 12, 15 pitches. What's the harm in saying I'm going to get on the mound and throw 12, 15 pitches in a game as opposed to in a bullpen? And there's validity to that. The difference is when you're talking about stress pitches, right? Like high stress pitches. If you're in a bullpen and you're throwing at 70% effort as opposed to max effort, there's a difference when you really ramp yourself up. Like I don't disagree. Like we've seen that before, where guys would take their bullpen day and go, and you definitely see it in tournament play when you need guys to do it. Skenes, with everything that he has to gain and everything he has to lose, with the draft in a month, it's so hard to imagine that, man. Justin Knox, so let me get this straight. We started Skenes against a 40-loss team instead of starting against an Oregon State team who finished in the top 10. Let's see. Do you think Jay knows something in the rotation is going to have to step up and trying to get someone to do that? Like at this point, man, at this point, it's not, let me see what my team has. Like you're beyond that. Like, this is now, you lose 2 games, your season is over, right? So it's not early March where you're like, hey, I'm going to give this guy the ball in the midweek game to see what he does, or I'm going to shuffle my rotation in the weekend in Round Rock to see who steps up. Like, brother, it's June. Like this is regional play. You play all year for this, to advance in this tournament to the Supers and Omaha and try to go play great baseball for 10 days in Nebraska and try to win a national championship. But like it's not about, well, let me see who can step up. Like you're beyond that. Like who your guys are at this point. You've pared down your rotation. You've pared down your bullpen. Like there are guys. I mean, you obviously have your postseason roster. You have your travel roster. So there are going to be some guys who aren't even dressed. Like who your guys are. Skip would always say that there are 6 guys that he wanted to be able to count on. In the postseason, 6 arms he wanted to be able to count on in the postseason. So like, if you're LSU, I mean, and if you hold true to that, you're going, okay, well, I got Floyd, or Skenes, Floyd, Hurd, Coleman, Ackenhausen, Cooper, certainly are 6 that you would trust. Guidry, I would say, is in that number as well. But you would love to have had a situation yesterday where you could have preserved all those guys, which you did, right? Because Skenes pitched a complete game. But if you could have gone Hurd or Floyd with a lead, then gone like Dutton, Money, just get through it at the back end. And if things got hairy, then or start Floyd. If things got hairy, you get Hurd up. But man, anyway. Rex TM said, end of the day, we got to trust the guys we have left. But I'd be lying if I said Oregon State putting up 18 last night doesn't have me a little nervous for tonight. That's the point. Like, again, I want to like maybe the most basic way I could say this. And again, like, if you weren't, I know we've been on now for almost an hour and a half, but where we started today, for those who maybe came on late, thank you for hanging out this morning. I mean, I always appreciate y'all very much. If you're on YouTube, do me a favor, 221 still hanging on live. I love that. 88 likes. If you could maybe smash that like button, that'd be great. If you're new, please subscribe up to the channel. I will, I do plan to go live after the game tonight. So however you're watching right now, let's do it. We'll hang out tonight if y'all are down. Facebook, please like the Matt Moscona page. Share the post. But if you missed where we started, ultimately, like at its most basic level, here's what I said. Would you feel better right now knowing you had Paul Skenes throwing tonight against Oregon State than knowing you got Ty Floyd? And the answer is yes, like unanimously. That's not a trick question. Like we would, that is the answer. Paul Skenes is the best pitcher in college baseball in a decade. So, of course, you would feel better if you had Skenes going tonight than you do with Floyd. It's not to say Floyd can't win or LSU's toast. It's not to say any of that. It's to say, by percentage, you would have a greater chance of winning tonight with Skenes than Floyd. That's not a knock on Floyd. That's just because he's Paul Skenes. And you didn't have to burn Skenes yesterday against Tulane. That is the point. Why wrestling with the decision that Jay made is hard, and why so many people are criticizing the decision that he made. And it's just like it justly deserves criticism. He did something that no other coach in college baseball that was a 1 seed did this year, and throwing your ace against a 4. And he did something that LSU, to the best of my recollection, has done only once in this format, and that was back in 1999 when Skip threw Kurt Ainsworth against ULM because ULM had Ben Sheets. So they had a big leaguer. So yes, you threw your best guy. Tulane did not have Ben Sheets. So that's the point. That's why you're seeing so many people look at the decision to throw Skenes yesterday and criticize it, because it deserves criticism. It was not by percentage the best play. You gave yourself the best chance of winning yesterday, but you didn't give yourself the best chance of winning this tournament. And there's going to be people who say, well, you put yourself behind the 8 ball if you lose to Tulane. But, and I've also heard but if you can't beat Oregon State with Floyd or Hurd or whoever, that's true. But I could flip that and say, if you can't beat a 40-loss Tulane with Ty Floyd or Thatcher Hurd, you've got no shot of winning this thing anyway. So, I mean, that's the point. Like, Jay made a very unconventional, risky, borderline reckless decision yesterday. And now his guys got to pick him up, man. Floyd's got to go pick him up tonight, and the bat's got to swing it tonight, and I hope they do, man. So, like, don't get it twisted, man. I'm like, this is a thing where I think we got to look at it and go, we took this time to talk about the Skenes decision because it was warranted. I wasn't on air yesterday and all this sort of stuff. So we took the time to talk about Skenes. But after this, like, it's put to bed. I mean, the only way we talk about the Skenes decision again is if LSU loses tonight. And God bless. Like, the only way we talk about the Skenes decision again is if they lose tonight, which we all hope they don't. Listen, it's going to be 8 o'clock at the box. Place is going to be packed to the gills. It's going to be a beautiful night. It's going to be one of those awesome nights for baseball. So it's true. Like Bo said, win tonight, all's forgotten. And that's true until next year if they do it again. But I hope this isn't one that we talk about forever. And if they lose tonight, it will be, unfortunately, because you've got you have the best pitcher in college baseball, the best player in college baseball, the best offense in college baseball. You have a team that's good enough to win the national championship this year. They need, like any team, you need stuff to break your way. But Jay Johnson gave everybody a little bit of the heebie-jeebies after the decision yesterday, because now going into the biggest game, the biggest day of the season, you don't have your best pitcher available. So that's kind of where we started, and I guess it's a good place to wrap. I'll scroll through here to see if there's any more. As always, go shout out to Brock. After Hours Clinic is open nights and weekends as an alternative to the ER, and I love telling you about HUDCO, of course, HUDCO Roofing, HUDCOroofing.com. HUDCO is pinned in the chat, both YouTube and Facebook. If you need a roof, give us a shout. Free, like literally free, no obligation. You don't have to be home. We can come do a roof inspection. Like, it's basically just go on the homepage of the website. You'll see a form on the right side of the homepage. It'll take you like 30 seconds to fill it out. It goes right into our system. Someone will call you. We'll send one of our inspectors out to get on your roof, walk it, mark it, chalk it. We'll give you a full inspection report. And if you have damage and we recommend a repair or replacement, we'll let you know. And if we need to work with your insurance company, we have people on staff who have worked at insurance companies. That's all they do. It's full-time people that all they do is work with insurance companies to get your claim approved. So HUDCO Roofing, HUDCOroofing.com. Let's see, a couple of more. Justin Marquez, how about Trey Morgan at first base? Yeah, Morgan at first. Like, I don't know if you're trolling. Like, Morgan at first is necessitated if you want to get Pearson in the outfield. And you're not going to DH Joe Bear. So I don't know if you're trolling or if you actually want an answer to the question. But if you're going to put Pearson in right and keep Joe Bear in the outfield, by the way, how about Joe Bear's catch yesterday in right? Tough day for the Braden Joe Bear can't play outfield crowd yesterday. Beautiful catch in right field. But if you want Pearson in the outfield and in the lineup, which Jay does, I mean, he trusts him, and Joe Bear's in the outfield, that means Morgan has to go back to first base, which means you DH Beloso or Travinski. You DH Travinski if Milazzo's catching. So that's what tonight's interesting. You know, Oregon State is a bit more of a pesky offensive team. They can hit it, but they'll run and bunt and do all that stuff that West Coast teams do. So do you catch Milazzo tonight? And if you do catch Milazzo, then you DH Travinski, which means Beloso likely goes out of the lineup. Unless if you put Beloso at first, Morgan in left, move Joe Bear back to right, and Pearson comes out of the lineup. So kind of a question of if you go defense with Milazzo behind the plate, where do you supplement to get your offense? That's kind of the question I think Jay has to answer tonight. Ooh, man. Murder Giraffe, will the first game be on the radio? You'd have to get the local radio calls. It's not like you'd have to get the Oregon State radio or the Sam Houston radio call. Clint Witcher, JJ went off of what Tulane has done in the past 2 weeks, not the entire 40-loss season. It's not even really the past 2 weeks. It was just the week in their tournament. Cortland, if LSU fails to score runs next 2 games and lose, it proves Jay right for trying to get the one win you could. Not necessarily. What if Skenes would have gone and thrown a complete game shutout tonight against Oregon State? I mean, there's all the what ifs. Again, Cortland, like, you play percentages in baseball, man, and it was the wrong percentage play. It's not to say they can't win, but that was the wrong percentage play. Bo said we need Gorilla Ball back tonight. Yeah, I'd love to see it, man. Eddie, the league ERA is over 5. That's, you know what, like, that's one thing that we haven't talked about enough is a lot of people have criticized LSU's pitching is understand that everybody's ERAs are up. LSU can score 10 runs and still lose. Why? Because Skenes is burned. It's true. Scott Woodward attended the game. Bad sign for JJ? No, not at all. Not at all. A lot of people probably don't understand, but maybe it's because you don't. The cameras may not always catch them, but the athletic director and athletic administrators attend lots of games. Like Scott Woodward will attend like soccer and volleyball and like even the non-revenue sports. I mean, that's very common, especially when we're talking about postseason play. How about the Joe Bear outfit? Let's see. Donovan Peterson, biggest inning seems to be the first for Floyd. There's some truth to that. Like once he gets in his groove, he's really the Arkansas game is probably the best example of that. That Saturday game against Arkansas. If you don't remember it, I'll kind of refresh your memory here. So the Saturday game against Arkansas, Ty Floyd got the start, and in the first inning, here's what Arkansas did in the first. Reached on an error, Stovall flew out. Wagner homered, so you're down 2-0. He hit Brady Slavens with a pitch, so you're down 2-0 with a runner on. He hits another pitch, hits another bat, so 2 hit by pitch after the 2-run homer. Then he goes strikeout, strikeout. You're down 2-0, right? After that, Ty Floyd put together a masterpiece in that game. Ty Floyd went 6 1/3. The only 2 runs he gave up were the 2 runs on the homer in the first. Only gave up 3 hits. 2 of them were in the first inning. Walked 2, struck out 7. He was awesome. Like, after that first inning, it clicked. So I tend to agree. Who made that comment? Donovan Peterson. I agree. I agree with Don. Justin, I love Morgan at first base, just trolling. Look, Trey Morgan's a great first baseman. He's a great athlete. But they even talked about on the broadcast yesterday, what you've seen this year is Trey Morgan has dramatically increased his professional stock because he's shown he's a really good outfielder. I mean, he's made diving catches, running catches into the wall. Like, he's a really good outfielder, and he handles the bat. Like, Trey Morgan, I'm going to say this again. Trey Morgan's not going to be a first baseman at the next level. Like, there is no team that is going to draft Trey Morgan and say, super athletic guy, yeah, let's put him at first. Yeah, ghastly game. In the last 2 weeks, they were swept the last week of the season. That's what I'm saying. Tulane they got hot for 1 week out of the year. I mean, it was their conference tournament. Let's see. I kind of get what Jay did by starting Skenes, letting the rest of the staff know he has complete confidence. Yeah, I don't think that's the objective there, Dave. It's not the time of year where you just sort of arbitrarily send messages. Like, you got to win the tournament. And again, LSU put themselves in a position here where they have lessened their probability of winning today than if they had Paul Skenes on the mound. So hope it works. Okay, y'all. Been here for an hour and a half. Appreciate everybody for hanging out. YouTube, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Facebook, please like the Matt Moscona page, share the post. Appreciate y'all. Taylor Russell asked about whiskey and wine tonight. No formal whiskey and wine, unfortunately. We reached out to Don Juan. It was a little late. They couldn't get staffed up enough. Usually when we do whiskey and wine, we bring a crowd, and they when we were there for the draft night, boy, I got overwhelmed for draft night. But maybe we could look at next, if LSU wins this weekend, which we expect they will. Maybe we could look at next weekend, next Saturday for the Super Regional for whiskey and wine. So we'll work on that this week. But yeah, no whiskey and wine tonight. But if y'all are down and around, I'll fire up a live stream, probably just a YouTube live stream tonight after the game for some post-game thoughts. If y'all are hanging around, I mean, it'll probably be late. It'll be like 11 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock. But if y'all are down, we'll fire up a live stream after the game. So. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Man, y'all have an awesome Saturday. Again, I know this would be last thing before we go. I want to say this. Again, this was about sort of just being on the record, speaking my piece, talking about the Skenes decision. From this point, it's done. It's over. There's no sense in continuing to belabor the point. Tonight, it's about, hey, Ty Floyd, let's roll, go make a memory. Let's get the bats going, beat Oregon State, put yourself in the driver's seat. And, somebody's going to have to come back and beat you twice. So, Tigers are in a good spot. Not as good a spot as they could have been. But, from now on, let's focus on go get this win. And I sure as heck hope we're not back here tomorrow talking about they should have saved Skenes. So, okay, y'all have an awesome day. We'll see you. Peace.